Hi,
Hi.
Adil sir. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great too, sir. Welcome to the
Thank
Red
you.
Sparrow. Welcome to our show, Untangled. Today
Thank
we
you.
are going to be untangling all the bits and pieces that go into making Adil Hussain, both the artist and the person behind the artist. Sir, since you are in Scotland now and you're prepping for a new movie, could you tell us something about it at this?
Well, only this much I can tell you. The name of the movie is Bell Bottom. It's a spy thriller, and the cast members are Akshay Kumar and Lara Datta, Vani Tripathi, Huma Qureshi, and so many others from different parts of the world. It's an international spy thriller. So yeah.
So, sir, we follow a certain format in this show. We divide it into three sections. The first is called Inception, under which we will talk about your early beginnings in Assam and your work as a stand-up comedian and in mobile theater and local cinema. Then we will go to the second section called Assembly Line, where we will talk about your training days at NST or in London and in Puducherry in Delhi. Then we have the third section called Harvest, where all these learnings came to fruition and you got to present the work that we see today. So we'll talk about few of your projects. So let's begin with Inception. You have mentioned this before that you started with Mimicry, your career as an entertainer, and some performers from Bengal used to come and mimic actors like Amitabh Bachchan and Dharmendra at Bihu functions in Goalpara, Assam. And you started pursuing mimicry and stand-up comedy. So when we start our aspirations as an actor, we often start by impersonating our favorite actors, and we think that that is enough to become an actor. Like if Amitabh Bachchan can deliver a dialogue like this and I can replicate that, then I'm also an actor. But then gradually we grow out of that thought and understand that we need to find our own style or at least do what the character demands. How was that evolution process for you?
I think imitation is the fundamental uh, tool how human beings even start working as a human being. For example,
Yes.
we imitated our elders and we have learned the language.
Yes.
We imitated our parents or other human beings and we learned how from crawling we started walking.
Oh,
So
oh,
imitation is the fundamental tool by which a human being is trying to even develop their brain and how we express ourselves. A person who is born in the jungle, and if she or he is raised by a gorilla or a
mm-hmm.
chimpanzee, would imitate
Them.
their caregiver in
True.
order to learn how to function as that is a natural embedded tendency for a human to survive. So survival and procreation are the two fundamental factors that human beings are gifted with. And that's how we survived all these years in spite of ice age and floods and all that, over the thousands of years of millennial. So I think human beings a kid starts imitating her parents if she parents or caregiver, the primary caregiver, if they don't
Mm-hmm.
have parents. And we learn how to talk even till today. When I do this, for example, I'm reminded of my dad because dad exactly sounded like this. And when I'm like, oh, it's me who has done it. It's not my dad.
Yeah,
So imitation of other actors come in much later in life, but much before that, we have already started imitating
imitating.
how we
Yes,
eat, how the language learning is completely imitation.
very true.
The way that you sound, if you are from South India, you would sound there, and the way you would sound if you are born in France, you say, I don't know, the placement of voice is somewhere else. If you are born in Italy, how are you doing? My God, really? If you're born in America, how are you doing today? So the voice is placed somewhere else. And if you are born in Russia, well, no matter what you do, everything is very good. How are you today? And if you're born in Manipur, so and China, so what I'm trying to say, the sound sound that we produce in order to form a word, the sound that comes out from your vocal cord, and then by the usage of the lips and the tongue and the teeth, that's how we form the sound into consonants and vowels. Without that, the sound will be only ah or
Hmm.
a.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
vowels are
Vowels.
there,
Yeah.
and then you go ah ma, so
Yeah.
ma
Persh
ba,
words.
ba. So
Yeah.
even the sound which comes out from the vocal cord depends on the place that you're born. Would it be ma, then mom, or would it
Wow.
be ma? Or if you're born in Japan, oh, how are you today? I'm good. Tomorrow I want to go there. So it's totally imitation, which is used by the offspring and learns how to create the sound. So yes, I coming to acting. I know I can go on this because that's my subject. And I have a bad tendency because I also teach, so I am in the habit of explaining too much, more than required, I guess sometimes. Um, so yes, I learned to imitate Amitabh Bachchan, Shatrughan Sinha, and Dilip Kumar, and Ajit, and all that by watching movies, and I started doing it for my neighborhood friends. You know, and getting praised by it. Oh, very good, and all that.
Yeah.
So it started then, and I loved it. The best part is that I enjoy doing it. And then at the age of 13, and also you're from Assam, that Assam is extremely culturally vibrant
Yeah.
place.
True.
Every village would have at least a dance group, if not a theater group.
Yes.
Bihu, they will dance. There will be a theater group or a play or a, dance and music group. Like in our town Gwalpara, which was god forsaken in a way because newspaper used to come 3 days after they were published. We had music band, we had theater groups, not group but groups, dance groups, and then culture, what do you call that, folk music groups, folk singers and modern singers and all that. So if you go out of our house and next door near Kashi Mitro, there is the district library. We had they're practicing music all the time, you know. So that, and my dad, who was a big fan of classical music, and he was a big fan of Tagore. He was a big fan of Assamese novelists and writers and Bhupen Hazarika and all that. So the upbringing was like that, and I took to it, and I fell in love with acting, and that continued. And that was the inception, I guess, if I look back at it. And of course, I did a play at the age of 8, and that play was it played a very crucial part because that's the first organized play that I did. It was 2-actor play, and the director of the play was the school teacher, and it was a half an hour play. And after the play, I became very popular. But the first question I remember asking her that, "Oh my God, ma'am, was it already half an hour? It felt like 5 minutes."
Oh.
So the time stood still for me. The magic of time. That you don't feel you are growing, even you are not even aging. So that sort of was that nailed it for me. And then, one after the other.
How wonderful. So you have worked as a stand-up comedian for 6 years in Assam, and you were very popular there. You worked in cinema there. You worked in mobile theater there. Then what was the trigger that made you decide that you should go and learn from NST, or you should learn acting? And why did you make a shift from comedy to pursuing drama? You could have pursued your career as a
Ah.
comedian, could have done sitcoms, or you could have done sketch comedy shows like Monty Python troupe, like you were performing under Bhaya Mama troupe. Then what was the reason that you
Yeah.
shifted from comedy to drama and you decided to learn it, go and learn it?
Well, comedy came very naturally to me, though I also did serious plays since my childhood. I was introduced to absurd plays by the local theater dramatist of our town called Rukmal Hazarika, who used to write absurd plays. And I did that since I was in fifth standard.
Mhm.
So it was not only comedy that I was exposed to. I did serious theater directed by him, and those were extremely intense plays. So it was both at the same time. So most probably I was the lucky guy who has got a natural tendency to mimic, and I was the clown of the family as well. I'm still the clown of the family, and at the same time had been exposed to this kind of absurd plays, which was sort of those plays were influenced by Beckett's Waiting for
Yeah,
Godot.
theater
And
always.
he also and he also introduced me to Godot, not really fully, when I was like in my teenage, and I didn't understand the thing that I said mostly, but I had certain intuitive perception, I would rather say that way. So I had both. So it is not that only comedy, but
Mhm.
I had equal amount of both aspects. Intensity of emotions, other emotions, not only laughter, but other emotions also.
So you have spoken about being an Amitabh Bachchan fan as a kid. So and that was also a time when the parallel cinema movement was also happening in the
Yes.
70s and 80s, led by Naseeruddin Shah and actors like Om Puri. Were you also attracted to that? Because today you're an international face of new wave
Mm,
cinema. Did you have
mm.
some thought that you would go into that zone someday, work in such movies where realistic acting happens?
Right. I forgot the years. My first introduction to to Om Puri and Nasiruddin Shah, especially, they were the trailblazers. In Indian, in the Hindi film industry, especially, there were amazing actors like Chobi Vishwas and Shomitra,
Mhm.
and there are so many of the directors like Tapan Sinha, directors like, of course,
Ray,
Satyajit Ray and
yeah.
Midal Sen and Ritik Ghatak and all that. But in the Hindi film industry, my first film was Ardha Satya, and I was blown by Mr. Mr. Puri and Nasiruddin Shah. And Nasiruddin Shah himself told me once that there was this scene where Om Puri comes drunk in the police station. And Nasiruddin Shah was watching the scene, and he ended up asking Om Puri, "Did you actually drink?" He Nasiruddin Shah told me that I thought he was actually drunk. He was so good at it. So Om Puri said, "Of course not. You think I'll drink and come and
That's
do a scene?"
unprofessional on set. Okay.
So Ardha Satya, Sadashiv Amripurkar, he played the bad cop there, or the politician, I forgot. Ardha Satya was an eye opener for me. But even before that, or maybe after that, I'm forgetting the timeline here. I
Mhm.
saw a Hollywood film called Papillon. In French, it's called Papillon. Papillon means butterflies.
Okay.
And there was Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen. And I thought they were not actors. I thought the directors have picked them up from the streets
Ah,
and made them act. And later I know, because those days we didn't have Google or anything,
yeah.
to find a person who would know about these people, and that was also a big deal. So I realized, oh my God, these are the actors, and I would like to become an actor like these people. Dustin Hoffman, or Om Puri or Nasiruddin Shah. And so I hope I have answered your question. Like, yes, I'm a big fan of Bachchan Sahab, because you see, these are different genre we are talking about.
Mhm.
A person who does Kathakali
Yeah.
and another person who does Ujjapali,
Mhm.
Assamese theatre,
Yeah.
are two different kinds of actors.
Yeah.
And they're both happy doing what they want to do. It's not that one is better than the other.
Mhm.
It depends upon what appeals to me as an actor, what kind of acting or genre of acting that I'm interested in. The Kathakali actors are great actors, but they most probably will not be able to act the way the so-called realistic acting. Similarly, Bachchan Sahab, Shatrughan Sinha, Rajesh Khanna, Raj Kumar, Dilip Kumar, all these people are great actors in their own genre.
Agreed.
So
Yes.
you cannot judge it like, oh, this is a better form of acting and this is not a better form of acting. That is injustice. I
True.
feel that I was interested in realistic characterization of real people. It appealed to me. So I went towards that.
So we have reached our second section, assembly line.
Oh,
Let's.
I thought we have reached already the third section.
So there's so much to talk about with you. So it's going at its own pace. So
No problem.
let's talk about your days at National School of Drama. Can you share with us some exposure you had to new kind of books about acting or life? Some plays you did which changed your perspectives about acting, different from what you were doing in Assam, and some
Sure.
people you met there who shaped your perspectives as an artist you are today.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's another. Maybe it will be a trilogy. If since you have separated these three sections, I can see a trilogy being written. There's so much to talk about it. National School of Drama. I had been one of the member of the luckiest batch which ever came to National School of
Yes.
Drama, because in 1990 the National School of Drama changed the entire idea of selecting students and also the syllabus.
Okay.
And those teachers were Khalid Tayebji, Barry John, Anamika Haksar, Robin Das, Niva Joshi, all these people. Arjun Raina, he played a very important role in my life. Of course, Khalid Tayebji, which if you have read my interviews or seen, I keep
Yes.
mentioning him because he completely changed my perception about acting. Um, so if I say it in one sentence, that I was reborn as a
Mhm.
person, as an actor in 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 National School of Drama, and the books. I was introduced to the greatest of the minds of acting: Stanislavski,
Yes.
Jerzy Grotowski, then Peter Brook and his idea of acting, his idea of theater, um, then to the entire Indian theater forms, right from Kathakali to Kudiyattam to Nautanki to Parsi theater to
Mhm.
Yakshagana, and
Yeah.
it's like huge. And then theater forms from across the globe, the Commedia dell'arte, the
Yeah.
Russian idea of acting, the great writers of the world, including Shakespeare and Shaw and Goldoni and whatnot. And the idea of, not idea, the study of beauty is called aesthetics. What is the way that reality that you and I are talking, and if this
Yeah.
have to be captured
Yeah.
and represented artistically on a stage or in a film, what is the difference between real life and artistic representation of real life?
Mhm.
Cinema or plays are not that we have to.
Yeah.
It's not real,
Mm.
but it seems like real.
Yes.
You know, so the study of beauty, the subject of beauty, how beauty plays the most important role in the representation. It's an ingredient that we put in, like we put in some salt or haldi or bamboo shoot or whatever you call it
Mhm.
while making something. We don't eat it raw, so you put something. So imagine the ingredients of, like, things that you're going to cook is real life. And then you start cooking and you start putting things to make it palatable for your for the body, which will imbibe it, and that food that you're eating will be transformed into the physical body. What you ate today is being transformed into your blood, into your muscle, into your
Mm.
bones.
Yes.
So that is also in theater or in films. that the difference between a tree, a natural tree, is beautiful. If you're looking at a tree, it's a beautiful tree. But when you make a bonsai of the same tree, and you start like, oh my God, this is the small tree, So that's the difference, bonsai and a natural tree. So, study of beauty, then theater architecture, history of literature, history of art from cave painting to postmodernism, all that in 3 years is very little time. I think that NSD course should be at least 5 years, if not 8 years or 9 years, 7 years. Because it is, and people should come and join when at the age of 10, at the after matriculation, and then 5 years or till master degree, like 7 years. It should be that. But then, so that's the reason that I graduated, and I realized that I know nothing about acting. Then I came to England, to the UK to study acting. Went back again feeling I know nothing about acting. Then I went into training again with my teacher Khalid Tebji for now 6 more years, off and on, till 1999. So 9 years of training, and then I did my first play, Othello. As I said, I can keep going on. It's a never-ending story.
You decided to go for the Charles Wells Scholarship, and you trained yourself in London because you wanted to understand how realistic acting is done. Because you had an opinion about film actors in India that they used to overact a bit. So could you
overact again? I said it, that the genre that's the reason
that demands it. That kind of Could you share a little learning as to what really is the trick to be real and converse like real people while delivering lines written by someone else and not let it look like that? How do you get it done?
As I said, what kind of films you do and what kind of acting that you're fond of or you're fallen in love with, that would decide what kind of training that you would need. And like, for example, I am talking to you right now.
Yes.
Like, for example, I'm talking to you right now. Like, for example, I'm talking to you right now. Like, for example, I'm talking to you right now. If I say it 100 times, it will start, generally the danger of, it might start sounding like a dialogue. Like, for example, I'm talking to you right now. See, it becomes like, like, for example, I'm talking to you right now. But the way that I said it for the first, like, for example, I'm talking to you right now, there is no intonation.
It was
not going. Like, for example, I am talking to you right now. But that is false. That is untrue.
Okay.
Generally, when we speak very flat. Generally, when we speak, we speak very flat.
Yeah. Putting effort.
You see,
now.
though it sounds like real, but it's not. So to find out how you actually speak in life, acting, if you are playing a role, the first thing which starts is that how Adil, not the character, never start with the character. Start with how I would behave in that situation, how I would speak if I have to speak. The words which are written by the writer, how I would say it as Adil, taking and believing in the given circumstance. The given circumstance is given by the writer in the script. And then you make sure that you are true, that Adil is speaking, not some other person is speaking. Like Adil is speaking, not some other person is speaking. Like Adil is speaking, not some other person is speaking. That is not you are. That is so-called misunderstanding of like, oh, if you have to speak a line from theater, it has to be natakya.
Okay.
But first you start with that. And then through that, whatever genre you are acting in, then you slowly start leaning towards that. If you are a person who is doing a very realistic acting, like in Europe or in Scandinavian country or in Russia, and slowly these are becoming, slowly popular in India as well.
Yes.
And so then you decide, okay, So am I going to speak like, am I going to speak like that? Or am I going to speak like this? You know, like no intonation
Mhm.
and keeping Adilness into it. And then maybe I have a sort of bleak hope to be able to find another way to say it, which is towards the character, like most probably the character. Because when I played Othello, I don't know Othello. I have never met him. I have not met the writer who died 600 years ago.
Mhm.
So I don't know what Shakespeare thought. What
Mhm.
I have in front of me is are the words. That's it. And some people have written thousands of books how to speak Shakespeare and all that. So I
Mhm.
did not read any of it. I start, okay, now I will start speaking as if Adil is going to speak. That had it pleased heaven to try me with affliction, had there rained all kinds of sores and shames on my bare head, given to captivity me and my most hopes, I should have found in some place of my soul a drop of patience. But there, where I have garnered up my heart, there I must live or bear no life. So I must speak the way I speak. Not, had it pleased heaven to try me with affliction, had there rained all kinds of sores and shames on my. It might sound very dramatic and
Stylistic.
melodic, but there's no
Yeah,
truth in it.
agreed.
Yeah, your truth. It has to be always your truth. So realistic acting the question that you asked me, be founded and based and fortified and consolidated upon your personal truth. How you would say it. That's the first step,
Mhm.
and that is a big step. Most actors would not go there, unfortunately. So quite often, most actors sound fake, and we know that they're acting. Oh, acting kar raha hai. But when you
Mhm.
see a great actor,
Mhm.
you would say, "Oh my God! Oh, I thought he was actually saying it. Oh my God! I thought he was actually saying it." You
Like the
know
Dustin Hoffman example you gave.
exactly. So I hope I have understood.
Yeah,
I have replied to your question.
yeah. So you have also spoken about your struggles with the Hindi language. That you were finding it very difficult to figure out the about the gender association the Hindi language does with words which don't have gender in other languages. So, don't you think that everyone coming from different parts of the country have a certain mother tongue influence on Hindi? And over the years, with the growth of realistic content, what I have personally observed is that people, even trained actors, have stopped making efforts on diction and pronunciation or clarity of speech like the older actors. And I can see like actors not addressing the mixing up they do with the pronunciation of sounds like Shah and Sa, or they would pronounce Phir as Fir, which is a Punjabi influence on Hindi, or Namaskar as Namaskar. Do you think this is how the language is evolving now? Like Shakespearean English has evolved to this English we are speaking in now, or
Correct,
this is
correct.
wrong? We need to address this issue and work on our languages and correct it.
A good question.
Thank
Um, Everything evolves. The only truth is that there's nothing constant. Things change. But at the same time, uh, and also the fact that the way the actors speak, the the way what the elements that you talked about right now,
you. Yes,
that it's not fir but it's pir. It's not fool but it's pull.
cool. Yeah,
Flower.
yeah.
And so these are fundamental things in terms of the grammar and the rules of a particular language. Assamese has its own way of saying things. Like for example, in Assamese language, how many people know the difference between Burket jaw and Ontastia jaw? Which one is jaw? Which one is zaw? Like in Assam, I keep hearing, "I'm going to the Jew road." So Jew are, Jews.
Yeah.
So are they going to Jew Road or they are going to Zoo Road?
Zufruit.
You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So very few people even know the difference. And also in the language itself, we don't have the difference between cha and cha and
Yes.
sha and sa. We
Yeah.
don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not mean that the language that we are speaking is wrong.
Mm.
And because of the lack of the strength in cha and cha and ja and ja, like we don't
Mm.
say jharu, we say zaru.
Mm.
Zaru nesun, you know. That's
Right.
why in Bengali they pronounce it very clearly, like joke, amikon soku. Though it's written with patham cha,
Mm-hmm.
patham sa.
Yeah. But it's
So
saw
that's
there.
the reason also Assamese sounds, according to my ear, Assamese sounds even softer and sweeter than Bengali.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bengali is very sweet, but Assamese is even softer
Yeah. Softer.
because we don't have those,
Too much pitch.
strong
Yeah.
this. So that it doesn't mean that which one is better.
Hmm.
We have all the letters in Assam, all the short, sort of, and the vowels and the consonants. We have it, but we don't say
Yeah.
it. Is it wrong? I don't think it is wrong. At the same time, that is a sort of a decided code by all the linguistic experts that this is how Assamese language is. But and we know it. Maybe we don't know it, and we still say it correctly in Assamese language. But as actors, I feel it is important to speak the way, not to speak the way, to learn all the grammars and anything that you do,
Mm-hmm.
each and every consonant that you say must be deliberate, and you have to marry it with spontaneity. So the
Okay.
marriage of spontaneity and deliberation is the process of art. That you know the grammar fully, but if a character is like this, it's okay with me, no?
Mm.
That he
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
there, that he came here and he sat down, he had few glasses of water and went away. I don't know what to do. Then, but if that is the actor's personal speaking mode, then he will
Mm-hmm.
not be able to play many roles. But if you know how to speak clearly, there
Mm-hmm.
is a possibility that you would be also able to speak in unclear way. That maybe an actor cannot speak sir. So
Mm-hmm.
I was going there, and then what happened was, হেৰি হ'ল কথা পতা নাছিলে মানুহটো কথা পতা নাছিলে কি কৰিম এতিয়া তেনেকে I don't know वहाँ जा रहा था देखा था जा रहा था और देखा फिर उधर ऐसा नहीं हुआ मुझे समझ में आ रहा है वो क्या कह रहा है इसलिए समझ में आनी चाहिए but otherwise you should not speak if unless your intention is not to make the other person understand. It has to be all intentional. That is the reason I believe that actors must train themselves in order to have the clarity of speech. Diction, the word means clarity of each and every letter in the word. Intonation means that the music of the language. Pronunciation in English language means which which syllable you have to accentuate. For example, the word industry. How would you say it?
Industry.
No. So that's wrong pronunciation.
Okay.
It's not industry, it's industry.
Industry.
First syllable has to be and I'll tell you almost everybody gets it differently. They
Okay.
all say industry and other words are
Industry.
okay. In the film industry is no, it's film industry. Like
Industry.
for example, it's a three syllable word. For example, like
Mm-hmm.
telephone is the first syllable is emphasized. Telephone. It's not telephone. It's not telephone, but it's telephone.
Telephone.
Okay. Each and every English word, which
Mm-hmm.
are more than one syllable, would always accentuate or emphasize on one of the syllables. For
One of the
example, it's teacher, but it's not Account is count. Account. About. It's not about. You don't say it.
Hmm.
We always say
About.
about.
Yeah.
But when a person from here would say it, they will say it about. So
Hmm.
always there is an extra emphasis. That's why when they say Indian names, they would always try to, if it is two syllable name, they'll always try to emphasize on one of the syllables. So my name in England is Adil. Instead of saying Adil, it's Adil, and in America it's Adil. They have to emphasize one of the syllables. So it is important to know, if you are speaking Hindi, आपको ये जरूरी है कि जानना कि हिंदी का जो मात्रा है और जो प्रोनाउंसिएशन है वो कम से कम उच्चारण है वो कम से कम सटीक हो, ना कि सटीक हो, ना कि सटीक हो, not that, ना कि सटीक हो. So लिंग के बारे में जब आप बोल रहे थे, लिंग के जो एक एक्स्ट्रा एक एलिमेंट हिंदी में है जो असम में नहीं है, अंग्रेजी में नहीं है, ईस्टर्न लैंग्वेजेस में है ही नहीं, तो वो बहुत ही मुश्किल है, बिकॉज इट्स रैंडम. देयर इज वन रूल, बट दैट रूल इज very very difficult to calculate when you speak so fast unless you practice. So that's the reason I did not waste time in learning that, because I get my script and I learn the script.
Yeah.
और जब मैं improvisation करता हूँ तो तब परेशानी होती है. लो improvisation कर देता हूँ, तब उसके बाद फिर directors को पूछता हूँ कि भाई मैंने सही कहा था या थी, so they will correct it. I said okay, now let's take it. So that's how we do it. So it is important for actors to have extreme clarity of speech, and then you can move to unclarity, slow speech, fast speech, slow speech, fast, slow speech, fast speech. So when you have to speak fast and yet you have to be clear, when you have to speak fast and yet you have to be clear what you're saying. This guy, Kapil Sharma, he speaks so fast, but his clarity is unbelievable. Anyway, this is a class. I mean, it's like you're asking a subject. Stop me, Sashi, stop me when you say, okay, enough. Thank you very much, Adil.
It's so good listening to you, sir. There's so much to learn from.
No, so maybe other people are not interested to listen to these technical things.
Sir, we can safely move on to the third section, harvest.
Please do.
So I wanted to begin with this TV show you were doing in 2002, 2003, which was my favorite then. I used to watch it with my brother, Jasoos Vijay.
You were like 7 years old?
Kind of, yeah. Like, seven, 8, yes. So I used to watch it with my brother, and there was this style of this execution of the show and the theme music and everything and your action sequences. So at a time when television demanded kind of over the top execution and acting, how was it approaching this character with a subtle realistic tone? Was it how did you crack that?
Well, I didn't have much choices because it has been written in a certain way, and my Hindi wasn't, as I said, my Hindi I'm always worrying about the tha and these. So that's why I started speaking slowly as the character,
Okay.
And I told the producers that you are casting a wrong person. I have huge problems with the language, and but it worked because generally as a character I'm supposed to think like what's going on. I'm constantly being a detective in the film, in the series.
Yes.
I'm constantly thinking, so ye jo aadmi hai. So I'm thinking about the next tha or thi actually, and also focusing on that. So it became a sort of a characteristic, one of the characteristics of Jasoos Vijay, that he speaks like this.
Okay.
But fundamentally, it was an impediment. And in spite of the fact that they hired me, because I could make sense a little bit of what I'm saying, and there is a sense of realistic acting in me, and it sort of people liked it, and I'm very, very glad that people liked it.
We loved you in that show. So I want
Thank
to
you.
speak about one of your films, which I really loved a lot, Parched, which is a beautiful film where you played a mystic lover, and there's a
Yeah,
beautiful song around your scene with the character of Radhika Apte. Could you,
right.
uh, for actors who are watching us, could you explain how does an actor prep for an intimate scene? And because we have a lot of judgments on ourselves,
Yes, yes,
which form the
yes,
core of our inhibitions. So, what kind of
yes.
a prep is there? Like, is there a conversation, or is there an exercise the craft demands after which you can like turn off your thoughts, and you, no matter who has come from whichever background, you can connect at a
Yeah.
level of vulnerability, something like that.
No, it's a good question, Sashi. I'm very happy to hear these questions because people generally don't ask these
Thank you
questions.
so much, sir.
So it is important, first of all, what kind of actor you want to become, and to also detect within yourself which are the areas of your weaknesses, the inhibitions that you have. The,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why actors in actors training itself, and I had to really work hard to be able to even say yes to that particular role that I did, because we are all inhibited in India, especially sexually. We are completely inhibited people. Some people, those who are in the metro cities, maybe they are a bit liberated, but then I've seen also they overdo it. You don't have to go either this way or that way. You can just stay on a tight rope that you respect it, and yet you are uninhibited. You know, so there where it comes the sense of aesthetics, how important aesthetics is, the to be able to see the beauty in it. So in actors training, the the metaphor of Indian understanding of a role in a play before modern theater, modern writing happened. Like I'm talking about the old Sanskrit plays, for example, Bhasa or Kalidasa or
Mm-hmm.
Bhababhuti. All these writers, whenever they wrote a play, like in modern theater, modern drama, you will see that you open the page and you'll see called Charitra,
Hmm.
characters, and they
Yes.
will name the character. They would say Patra and Patri.
Hmm.
Patra are female male characters, Patris are female characters. No, Patra means a vessel,
Hmm. Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and and the best element which fits into the vessel is water.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It just fits into the Patra.
Hmm.
And the water has very, very important, so many other qualities, but very important for me as an actor to understand is transparency, that you can see through,
Hmm.
the fluidity of it, and it has also the ability to
Take any shape.
quench your thirst.
Okay.
No, quench your thirst.
Okay.
Fluidity means
Hmm.
it fits into it, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it is transparent. So these three qualities, if you want to fit into a patra or a role, not character. Character is this particular word I'm not fond of. I think it diminishes the person to describe it. It's a lesser word. It diminishes or all a human being possesses, all the things that human being possess. It doesn't describe it fully. It short. The word character falls short. I would rather say that a role rather than a patra, rather than a character. So when you want to fit into the patra, you as a person, as an actor, you have to almost you, it is a lifetime work, by the way, but you have to strive towards becoming like water.
Hmm.
And the three elements that I talked about water is transparency, fluidity,
Fluidity and
and the ability to
hmm.
quench your thirst. So what is transparency? Transparency is something that everything that you feel, you think, your desires, your dreams, your tendencies, your propensities, your attitude, your aptitude, all that, you should at least recognize them. That, oh, this thought crossed my mind. which could be tremendously abhorred by the society. Like,
Oh.
how can I think like that even? Terrible thoughts, and I don't want to give examples, but people, you would know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Any
yes,
kind
yes,
of,
yes.
which are like despicable thoughts. But we'll be like, oh God, how can I think like that? We'll cringe. You'll like feel disgusted.
Mm.
So, but to be able to realize that, oh, I'm thinking that, and the feelings that you feel suddenly towards somebody, if somebody says something, a woman or a man, or an idea or an ideology or a situation, all kinds of things you dreamt last night, and it was a terrible dream that you cannot even think, how can I dream that even? Your desires, your sexual desires, your desires to be somebody, all that, to be able to recognize them and accept them
Mm.
without judging.
Judging, yeah.
No judgment. These are just thoughts. And let me tell you, every human being on the planet Earth has ever lived, including the saints, have those thoughts. Like, for example, Valmiki was a killer and a robber, and then he wrote Ramayana. So you should not feel ashamed about all these thoughts. I have read autobiographies of a lot of saints, and they have described what they thought, what they think about sexuality and all that. They've all gone through it. We all have that.
Mm-hmm.
But our society has made it such a
Taboo.
hue and cry about it. Oh my God! And people feel. I know a dear classmate of mine, his schoolmate in NSD. He has lost his mental balance because he thought that somebody made him feel that he was gay. Even if he's gay, what is anybody's problem? And he's undergoing treatment, since then, since 1995. So to that extent, we are so insensitive or unaware or ignorant about that every thought that we think, everybody in the world thinks the same, similar. And we all have dark thoughts and we all have beautiful thoughts. So we range. It depends upon which one you are nourishing, which one you are watering, which one you are, allowing to flourish. So transparency means that you first be transparent to yourself. You don't have to tell it to the other, tell those things to another person at all. You be transparent that, okay, I all have it. And now, without judging it, you accept it. I have it. Now, what do I do with it? Which area that I'm interested in? Which are my higher choices?
Yes.
Now, the other quality is fluidity. Now, to be able to move flexibly with fluidity, to be able to also be and see my dark qualities and my lighter qualities, and to be able to move back and forth. Like, okay, this is what it is, fine. And to be able to, when we accept that, fluidity becomes a consequence of it. From transparency, it gives birth, transparency gives most probably birth to fluidity, that you will accept the other person the way the other person is, will accept the person's ideology without hating the person. That person, like, for example, we hate Nathuram Godse, but I'm saying that Nathuram Godse acted believing in something which he felt was true for him.
Right.
Yeah. So to be able to see the world from his perspective, I'm not saying you're agreeing with it. I'm not saying you have to accept it.
Yes.
But to be able to see and to have compassion, to have empathy for the other. Oh, that's why he did what he did, because he thought he was born, and then he met those people who kept saying whatever is true for them. And then he, so fluidity means to be able to see and feel the way the others are feeling and seeing. at a situation, at a, and the ideology and all that human
Mhm.
mind can ever think of. The ability to quench your thirst. I'm coming to your question though, that how is it possible?
Yeah.
Ability to quench your thirst is that when you act, what am I doing? Basically, why are you even first place decided to become an actor? You might not know about it for a long time, but unknowingly, you would choose certain plays to do, certain directors to work with, certain co-actors to work with. So human beings all the time are trying. That's an embedded, as I said before, it is an embedded quality that we want to know more and more and more. We want to grow more and more and more. Like the universe is constantly expanding, physically expanding. The stars are going away from each other in the speed that we cannot even conceive. And we are part of that. We are the speck
Mhm.
of made of all the materials in the world. Human body has all the minerals on the planet except for uranium or something. We all have iron, sodium, blah blah blah. We all have everything. Do you get my point? So if I want to grow, so each and every human being who are watching your play or your theater, they have come here to see something, to be able to grow farther, to evolve. Evolution, whether you want it or not, it is happening at all times. Evolution of your mind, evolution of your body is happening, evolution of your psychological truth, which are we are all evolving at all times. Maybe it might seem like we're going backward sometimes, but that going backward is important to go forward, maybe in a greater speed. That, like, before you run, sometimes you go like and then you go. So that backward, maybe the nature is pushing you to go backward, like, hey, look at it again, and then you will go forward. So people will look down at, oh, he's such a backward person, no, he's such a cruel person, no, he's a fundamentalist and all that. I'm not justifying anything, by the way, don't misunderstand me, but all of us are evolving at
Yes.
all times. So when we perform, are we being able to tell a story, or are we can't tell a story unless we practice it ourselves? So are we fluid? Are we transparent? And am I being able to quench the thirst of my soul as I practice acting and the craft and wanting to know more about human beings? If I practice transparency, as I said, and if I
Mhm.
practice fluidity, we are already quenching our thirst. So with that, when you perform, you're quenching the unarticulate questions or queries of the thirst of the people who are watching it. You're basically elevating them. The word abhineta means the one who transports
Mhm.
the people to a little bit higher reality, to see the micro from a space of macro.
Mhm.
That's what it is. So now, when you have trained or when you have been a curious actor, will also slowly get out of the judgment about your sexuality. That
Mhm.
sexuality has nothing wrong in it. It is a wonderful act as long as you respect it, as long as you're respecting the other, as long as you cannot respect the other unless you have respect for those tendencies within you. And as long as it is meant, either you are not taking the other person as an object of sex, but as a human being, as special human being as you think you are, as much respect as you give towards all the thing that you have learned with beauty and love and compassion, the other person is also equally worthy of that. With all that, when you go to a person, with your lover, with your wife, no matter who, and when you meet and sexually meet and you love that person, then there is nothing wrong in it. So if you have that, when you are doing a scene which involves deep intimacy with the actor, you must first of all take your art, the practice of acting. If I call myself the practitioner of art of acting,
Mhm.
I consider that as a vehicle to help me to evolve. And I consider that as an act of, it's a sacred act. And then you have no shame, then you have no fear, and then you have no hatred also towards those feelings. So, yeah. So I don't know how there is an exercise. Well, no, there is no single exercise. It's all those things that I said. It's a continuous practice in life as you lead your life. And you look for beauty in everything that you do. You don't judge yourself, so you don't judge the other person, what the other person does. And if you take acting as a vehicle of your journey towards a greater truth, then yes, I don't think you will have a problem to do a scene like that.
That was so kind of you, sir, to be so subjective and so elaborative. That will be an inspiration for so many actors watching us now. But I wish I could.
I hope so.
I wish I could talk to you about the other movies and all your all your roles. I'm sorry, but we have reached to the end of the conversation. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Stay safe.
Absolute pleasure.
Hey guys, if you like that video, do share it with your friends and family. Do not forget to subscribe to the Red Sparrow for educative and entertaining content, and make sure you press the bell icon.